The gym manager told me that the only way out of my Ironclad contract was in a body bag or a pair of handcuffs, thinking he had me trapped for another 2 years of monthly payments. But he didn't realize I have a best friend with a badge, a squad car, and a flair for dramatic photography. The air inside Titanium Fitness smelled like a mixture of stale protein shakes, rubber mats, and the dashed hopes of 1,000 New Year's resolutions. It was January 8, a Wednesday, and the place was a chaotic zoo of humanity. The treadmills were full of people who looked like they would rather be undergoing a root canal, and the weight rack was surrounded by teenagers taking mirror selfies. I wasn't there to lift, though. I wasn't there to improve my cardiovascular health or get shredded for the summer. I was there to beg. I walked past the juice bar, where a blender was screaming at a decibel level usually reserved for jet engines, and approached the glass-walled office at the back. The door was open, but the atmosphere inside felt hermetically sealed against human decency. I sat across the desk from Derek, the general manager. Derek was a caricature of gym culture. He was a man whose biceps were larger than his neck, and his empathy was smaller than a mustard seed. He was wearing a tight black polo shirt with the Titanium Fitness logo stretched across his chest, and he was tapping a pen rhythmically against a laminated sheet of paper on his desk. His skin was an unnatural shade of spray-tan orange, and his teeth were blindingly white. "I understand you're moving, bro," Derek said, his voice dripping with a condescending sweetness that set my teeth on edge. He didn't look up from his computer screen. "But a contract is a contract. You signed for the Titanium Elite package. That's a 24-month commitment. You're only 2 months in." "I'm moving to a town 3 hours away," I explained, trying to keep my voice steady despite the rising panic in my chest. "I lost my job here. I have to move back home to save money. There isn't a Titanium Fitness within 100 miles of where I'm going. I literally cannot use the service. I just want to pay a cancellation fee and be done." Derek finally looked at me. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. It was the smile of a shark that just smelled blood in the water. It was the smile of a man who gets a bonus for every retention he secures. He spun his monitor around to face me. "See this?" He pointed to a highlighted paragraph on the screen. "The Ironclad clause. It's the industry standard, my man. No cancellations for relocation. No cancellations for injury. No cancellations for financial hardship. You pay $89 a month until January 2027. If you stop paying, we send it to collections, we ruin your credit score, and we garnish your wages. It's pretty standard." I felt the blood rush to my face. $89 a month. That was over $2,000 over the life of the contract. Money I didn't have. Money I needed for rent, for food, for gas to get to job interviews. "That's predatory, Derek," I snapped, my patience fraying. "I'm telling you I have zero income right now. You're going to ruin my credit over a gym membership I can't use." Derek shrugged, leaning back in his ergonomic leather chair and interlacing his fingers behind his head. He looked bored. He looked like he had this conversation 5 times a day. "Look, I don't write the rules, I just enforce them," he said, checking his watch. "You're locked in. My hands are tied. Corporate is very strict about this." "There has to be an exception," I insisted. "What if I broke my legs? What if I was in a coma?" "Still gotta pay," Derek chuckled, finding his own cruelty amusing. "We have people paying from hospital beds. It's about commitment, bro." "This is insane," I muttered, standing up. "I'm not paying it." Derek's demeanor shifted instantly. The bored smile vanished, replaced by a cold, hard stare. "Then we'll see you in court, and you'll pay the legal fees too," he said. "Unless—" I paused at the door. "Unless what?" "Unless you die," Derek said, his grin returning. "We accept death certificates, or if you go to prison. Those are the only 2 ways out of a Titanium Elite contract. So unless you plan on catching a felony charge today or jumping off a bridge, you're paying." I walked out of the office at 9 a.m., my fists clenched so hard my fingernails dug into my palms. I could feel Derek's eyes on my back as I navigated through the crowded gym floor. I wanted to scream. I wanted to flip over the dumbbell rack. But I didn't. I walked out to my beat-up sedan, sat in the driver's seat, and stared at the gray winter sky. I drove home in silence, the radio off, my mind racing. $2,000. It hung over my head like a guillotine. I pulled into my driveway at 9:45 a.m. and grabbed the folder from the passenger seat. It contained the copy of the contract I had signed 2 months ago, 40 pages of legal gibberish printed in font size 6 on whisper-thin paper. I threw the contract on my kitchen table and brewed a pot of coffee. I needed caffeine. I needed focus. Derek said death or prison. He said it like a joke, but contracts aren't jokes. Contracts are specific. I started reading. Clause 1, definitions, boring. Clause 2, payment schedule, depressing. Clause 5, equipment misuse, irrelevant. Clause 9, liability waivers, standard. My eyes were blurring. The legal jargon was designed to make you give up. Indemnification, arbitration, force majeure. I turned to page 34. It was buried in the middle of a paragraph about unforeseen circumstances. Clause 14b, membership termination due to incarceration. In the event that the member is incarcerated in a state or federal correctional facility for a period exceeding 6 months, the remaining balance of the contract shall be waived upon receipt of photographic evidence or court documentation confirming the member's status. I stopped, I read it again. Photographic evidence or court documentation. My heart skipped a beat. It didn't say and. It didn't say certified court order. It said or. It was a lazy clause, probably written by a lawyer who assumed that if someone was going to jail for 6 months, they wouldn't have the time or presence of mind to cancel a gym membership, so the barrier of proof was set lower to avoid administrative headaches. Derek had made a joke about me catching a felony. He thought he was being funny, but he had just given me the blueprint. I looked at the clock, 11 a.m. I picked up my phone. I scrolled to Dave. Dave was my best friend since kindergarten. We had done everything together, built tree houses, failed algebra, snuck out to parties. Dave was now a sergeant with the local police department. He was the most straight-laced guy I knew, but he had a wicked sense of humor and a deep hatred for corporate bullies. I dialed his number. "Dave," I said when he picked up, "are you on duty?" "Yeah, I'm on patrol near 4th Street. Why, everything okay? You sound weird." "I need a favor," I said. "A really weird, slightly illegal but morally justified favor. Meet me behind the old abandoned Kmart in 20 minutes. "You sound like you're about to rob a bank," Dave laughed. "I can't be your getaway driver. I'm in a marked unit." "No," I said. "I'm about to break out of a gym contract, and I need you to arrest me." "Excuse me." "Just meet me. I'll explain, and bring your handcuffs." I met Dave at 12 p.m. The parking lot behind the old Kmart was desolate, filled with cracked asphalt and weeds pushing through the concrete. It was the perfect setting for a crime scene. Dave was leaning against his cruiser, chewing gum, looking confused. I hopped out of my car and explained the situation. I told him about the move, the job loss, the $2,000 debt, Derek's shark smile, and Clause 14b. Dave listened, his expression shifting from confusion to amusement, and finally to a grin. "Titanium Fitness?" Dave asked. "On Main Street?" "Yeah." "I hate that place," Dave spat. "They towed my sister's car last year because she was parked in their lot for 5 minutes while picking up a prescription next door. Charged her $300. "Exactly," I said. "They're predators, so are you in?" "So let me get this straight," Dave said, adjusting his belt. "You want me to fake arrest you? You want a photo of you in the back of my squad car, looking like you're going to the big house, so you can email it to this Derek guy and claim you're locked up. That's the plan. You're an idiot, Dave laughed, but it's genius. If he asks for a booking number, you're screwed. The contract says photographic evidence or documentation. I'm betting on the or, and I'm betting Derek is lazy. All right, Dave said, turn around. He pulled his handcuffs off his belt. The cold metal clicked onto my wrists. He wasn't gentle about it either. He ratcheted them tight enough to pinch. Ow, I complained. Authenticity, Dave said. If you aren't uncomfortable, it won't show in your eyes. He opened the heavy back door of the squad car. Get in. I slid onto the hard plastic seat. It smelled like industrial sanitizer and old sweat. The cage separating the front and back was thick metal mesh. It felt real, terrifyingly real. Dave leaned in through the open door, holding my phone. He framed the shot. Okay, Dave directed. Don't look at the camera, look through the mesh. Slump your shoulders. You just got sentenced to 5 years. You lost everything. You're miserable. I channeled every ounce of frustration I had felt over the last month. The job loss, the move, the stress. I slumped. I let my mouth hang open slightly. I stared into the middle distance with dead eyes. Click. Dave checked the photo. He laughed out loud. Oh, this is gold. This is art. You look like you just got caught with a kilo of coke in the trunk. He showed me the screen. It was perfect. The lighting was harsh, the handcuffs were visible, and the cage cast a shadow over my face that screamed guilty. He uncuffed me. I rubbed my wrists, red marks forming on the skin. Thanks, Dave, you're a lifesaver. Just don't actually commit any crimes, he said, getting back in the driver's seat. I can't fake the paperwork for that, and if this goes south, I was never here. Deal. I drove home at 1 p.m., the adrenaline pumping through my veins. I sat at my computer. I opened my email. I needed to draft the perfect message. It couldn't sound desperate. It had to sound resigned. It had to sound like a man who had bigger problems than a gym membership. Subject: urgent membership cancellation. Incarcerated. To Derek, General Manager. Derek, per our conversation earlier today, you mentioned that incarceration was a valid reason for contract termination. You even joked about it. Well, it looks like you have a talent for predicting the future. Things went south quickly after I left your office. I was picked up on an outstanding warrant I wasn't aware of. I am currently in custody, and based on my lawyer's advice, I am facing a sentence of 3-5 years. I am using my one phone call internet access time to settle my affairs before transfer to the state facility. Please find the attached photographic evidence of my arrest as per Clause 14B of the membership agreement. Since I will be unable to use the facilities due to being in state prison, please cancel my contract immediately effective today, January 8. I will not have access to banking or income. Regards, Inmate 8490 pending. I attached the photo. I hovered my mouse over the send button. My heart was pounding. This was fraud. Well, technically it was lying to a corporation to enforce a contract clause, but it felt dangerous. If Derek called the police station, if he asked for a case number. But then I remembered his face. I remembered him laughing about me dying. I hit send. The screen refreshed. Message sent. I sat back in my chair and waited. The silence in the house was deafening. The clock on my wall ticked loudly. 1:15 p.m., 1:30 p.m. Every time my phone buzzed, I jumped. I imagined the police coming to my door for real. I imagined Derek replying with "nice try." I called the station. At 1:45 p.m., my phone pinged with an email notification. It was from Titanium Fitness. My hands shook slightly as I opened it. I held my breath. From Derek, General Manager. Subject: RE. Urgent membership cancellation. Incarcerated. Whoa, dude. I was joking earlier. I didn't think you were actually. You know, that sucks, seriously. Look, I don't want any trouble. And frankly, we don't want the hassle of trying to collect from an inmate or dealing with your family legal team. I've processed the cancellation immediately. No fees. Your balance is zeroed out. I've flagged your account as terminated incarceration. Good luck inside, bro. Keep your head down. Stay safe. I let out a breath that felt like it had been trapped in my lungs for 3 hours. I stared at the screen. He bought it. He actually bought it. He was so terrified of the drama, or maybe the minimal effort required to verify it was too much for him, that he bypassed all the red tape. He didn't ask for a booking number. He didn't ask for a court date. He saw the handcuffs, saw the squad car, and folded. I laughed, a loud, hysterical laugh that echoed in my empty kitchen. It was the laugh of the little guy winning one against the machine. I logged into my bank account just to be sure. The pending charge for next month, the $89, was gone. My membership status on the gym portal said, TERMINATD special circumstance. I texted Dave the screenshot of the email. Me, it worked. I'm a free man. Derek folded like a cheap suit. Dave, unbelievable. You owe me a donut, a good one, and maybe a beer. Me, I'm buying you a steak dinner. I ordered a large pepperoni pizza at 2 p.m. I sat on my couch, watching Netflix, eating greasy comfort food. In the eyes of the Titanium Fitness database, I was currently being processed into the state penal system, trading cigarettes for protection. In reality, I was watching The Office and enjoying the sweet taste of victory. The best part, 2 days later, I got a letter in the mail from the gym. I panicked for a second when I saw the logo on the envelope. Had they found out? Was this a lawsuit? I tore it open. Inside was a check. Refund for unused portion of January membership, $44.50. Derek had actually refunded me for the days remaining in the month. He was so convinced I was going to prison that he followed the goodwill policy to the letter. I framed the check. I didn't cash it. It hangs on the wall of my new apartment, right next to the printed photo of me in handcuffs looking miserable. Every time I look at it, I smile. I moved 3 days later. I never heard from Titanium Fitness again. Although, sometimes I wonder if Derek tells people about the guy who came in to cancel, got denied, and then immediately went out and committed a felony just to prove a point. In a way, I became a legend in that office. The guy who took Ironclad as a challenge. So viewers, was I wrong for faking a felony and lying to a manager to escape a predatory contract that would have ruined my finances? Or did I just level the playing field? If you have made it this far and want to see more videos like this, then kindly subscribe and turn on notifications so you may never miss an